You've heard the myths, you've seen the stories, but these weren't just monsters. They were warnings, from the Kraken to the Leviathan. Every legend started with something real. Welcome to the Ultimate Sea Monster compilation. Some say she had long flowing hair, eyes like pearls, and a glowing tail that disappeared beneath the waves. They say she was beautiful, gentle, kind, but that's just the story they told kids. The creature is the mermaid. Before Disney made her a princess, she was a nightmare. In the oldest myths, mermaids were monsters. In Greek legends, they were sirens, luring ships into rocks with their voices. In African tales, she was Mamiwata, powerful, seductive, and dangerous. In Japan, the Ningyo, said to curse anyone who ate her flesh with eternal life. Some say she smiled as sailors drowned. Others say she had no face at all, just a mouth. And even in modern films, the truth slips through, like The Lighthouse or The Siren, 2016. Even horror games give her back her teeth, because beneath the songs, behind the smile, the ocean's most famous beauty was always something to fear. But the mermaid wasn't the only legend hiding beneath the waves. Some creatures weren't quiet. They didn't sing, they pulled. The Kraken. A monster so big old sailors thought it was an island. Tentacles like towers, eyes the size of sails. And when the sea started to foam, they knew it was already too late. In Norse mythology, it was feared by Vikings. In the 1700s, sailors swore it swallowed ships whole. And maps from that era, they literally marked the sea. Here be monsters. Today the Kraken lives on, in Pirates of the Caribbean, God of War, even music videos and game trailers. Because no matter how far tech goes, we're still scared of what we can't see. And if you want to go deeper, we made a full video just on the Kraken. Click the I button to dive deep into our dedicated Kraken video. But for now, stay with us. The ocean has always hidden giants, but some were too big to stay forgotten. There's a reason even whales have scars, a reason some sonar readings show shapes bigger than submarines, and a reason divers say, if it's out there, you'll never see it coming. The creature is the Megalodon. Up to 60 feet long, a bite strong enough to crush a car, and teeth the size of a man's hand. Scientists say it went extinct millions of years ago, but not everyone agrees. Fossils have been found near Peru, Japan, even the US coastline. Some are so well preserved, they look recent, and in pop culture, it's unstoppable. Megalodon 2018, the Meg 2 Discovery's Shark Week mockumentaries. Even games like Subnautica tease its shadow because it taps into a fear that's older than speech. What if the biggest predator in history never really left? They say it sleeps beneath the world, an ancient god of the sea, older than time, bigger than continents. Creature on our list is Leviathan. This isn't just folklore. Across religious texts and ancient mythologies, Hebrew, Christian, Islamic, Leviathan appears as a monstrous serpent of chaos. Some called it a demon, others a force of balance. But all agreed, when Leviathan stirs, the world changes. And lately, the signs have started again. This year, in the frozen waters of Antarctica, an unusual resurgence of fin whales has been documented. Massive pods, dozens strong, returning to places they hadn't been seen in decades. Scientists called it hopeful, but some wondered, what called them back? In the tropical waters of Kerala, India, the ocean told a different story. Local beaches were littered with the sudden appearance of dead fish, sardines, mackerel, and other species, washed up by the hundreds. Climate scientists linked it to warming waters and disrupted oxygen levels, but for many locals, it felt like a warning from the sea. And off the coast of Mexico, oarfish, known online as the doomfish, was surfaced. These deep-sea creatures have long been seen as omens in Japanese and Pacific folklore, believed to rise before natural disasters. If you've followed this journey, you already know the ocean's secrets run deep. If you want to dive fully into the Leviathan legend, click the I button after this video finishes and explore our full breakdown. Leviathan returns again and again in Final Fantasy, God of War, Supernatural, and even in Netflix's Chocolate Deep miniseries, The Deep. Now, as whales flock, oarfish surface, and fish wash ashore, the line between myth and reality feels thinner than ever. The mythical creature we are talking about is the most jaw-dropping predator to ever glide through the oceans. A hunter of unimaginable size, feared in the deep long before humans ever existed. This is Mosasaurus. Its massive body, stretching over 56 feet, combined the speed of a snake, the raw power of a crocodile, and the relentless ferocity of a lizard, making it the ultimate killing machine of the ancient seas. Every scale, every jaw, every fin was designed for one purpose: to dominate. Scientifically, Mosasaurus is very real. Fossils discovered across North America, Europe, and even Antarctica reveal these marine reptiles thrived around 70 to 66 million years ago, ruling the oceans alongside massive sharks and other sea predators. With conical teeth built for crushing, long tails for swift strikes, and powerful jaws, it was built to hunt anything that crossed its path. Yet even today, sightings of enormous unknown sea creatures stir imaginations. Witnesses report finned shapes gliding beneath waves, strange sounds echoing from the depths, and movements too massive to be ordinary whales or sharks. Could a descendant still lurk in the unexplored 80% of our oceans? It's highly unlikely, but not impossible. And yes, it's the same creature that made Jaws drop in Jurassic World. But here's the truth. The real Mosasaurus was far more terrifying than any blockbuster could ever show. The thought that such a creature, or its descendant, could still glide silently in the ocean shadows is enough to make even the bravest diver shiver. You've probably seen this creature on your feed, in reels, shorts, TikToks, that massive snake that looks too big to be real. Yeah, that's not clickbait, that's Titanoboa. It lived 60 million years ago, in swamps, rivers, and flooded forests of what's now Colombia. But it wasn't just long, it was monstrous. 50 feet long, weighed over a ton, could crush a crocodile in one coil. Its body was as wide as an oil drum. Scientists say it hunted silently, slipping through water like a shadow. It didn't need venom, it had pure power. Titanoboa exploded into mainstream horror when it appeared in documentaries like Titanoboa, Monster Snake, Discovery Channel, and inspired creatures in games like Ark, Survival Evolved, and movies like Anaconda, Blood Orchid. YouTube cryptid channels, horror TikToks, and even fan-made horror edits can't stop showing it because it looks like something out of Jurassic Park, but it's real. It's fossils, found, studied. Some of its vertebrae are as big as your head. You can even see a full-scale reconstruction in the Smithsonian. But here's the catch. Titanoboa thrived in hot, humid, flooded regions, swamps, coastal waters, and thanks to climate change, those conditions are returning. So maybe Titanoboa didn't go extinct. Maybe it just moved deeper. We've seen predators, hunters, shadows in the dark, but some sea creatures weren't meant to hunt. They were made to end things. This one doesn't swim. He waits, coiled, around the entire world. The creature is Jörmungandr. In Norse mythology, he's the world serpent, son of Loki, enemy of Thor. They say his body wraps the planet like a ring, and when he lets go of his own tail, the end begins, Ragnarok. He's not just a monster, he's a prophecy. And yet, stories like his didn't appear from nowhere. In the 1800s, sailors off the coast of Iceland reported sea serpents longer than ships. In 2021, Norwegian fishermen captured sonar blips of something massive, too fast, too big, gone. And in games like God of War and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Jörmungandr rises again, ancient, giant, silent. Is he real? No fossils, no proof, just stories passed down like storm warnings. But sometimes the world ends with a whisper, and sometimes with a serpent. Have you ever stared into a dark, still lake and wondered what might be watching you from below? In the Scottish Highlands, there's a place where that fear has a name, Loch Ness, and its legendary monster, Nessie. Nessie has haunted the waters for centuries. Descriptions vary, but most say she's massive, at least 30 feet long, with a thick, dark body and a long neck that rises just above the surface, like some prehistoric creature that never died out. Some say she looks like a plesiosaur, others more like a serpent with fins. The oldest written story goes back to 565 AD, when an Irish monk, Saint Columba, claimed to see a giant beast in the river Ness, but it wasn't until 1933 that Nessie truly exploded into pop culture, thanks to a photo that looked like something rising from the lake. You've probably seen it, the famous surgeon's photo. Turns out it was a hoax, but the mystery, that never left. Over the decades, there have been sonar scans, drone sweeps, even documentaries with submarines and scientists. But Nessie always stays just out of reach. And yet, she's shown up in movies, books, games. From the water horse to Scooby-Doo to Doctor Who, she's more than a lake legend now. She's a pop culture icon. Maybe she's real, maybe she's not. But Loch Ness still pulls in thousands every year, all hoping to see a ripple, a shadow, something strange just beneath the surface. Because deep down, we still want to believe that something incredible is hiding in the dark. Every country has a creature they whisper about. Canada has Ogopogo, not in the sea, but in Lake Okanagan, calm, cold, and deep. Locals say it's been there long before the towns, long before the roads, just watching. They call it a lake monster. It's said to be serpentine, nearly 50 feet long, with dark, smooth skin and a head like a horse or maybe a goat. Stories go back centuries. First Nations people warned, never cross the lake without an offering, because the spirit in the water could pull your canoe down and never give it back. 1926. A dozen people claim they saw it. Since then, blurry photos, shaky footage, and quiet fear. Some say it's just a big fish, or floating logs, or waves playing tricks. But here's the strange part. Why are the stories always the same? The same shape, the same eyes, the same feeling that something's under the boat. Even today, Ogopogo appears in tourist photos. There's even a statue of him in Kelowna, cartoonish, smiling, like they turned a myth into a mascot. But if you ask the old fishermen, they won't laugh. They'll tell you, sometimes the lake still moves when it shouldn't. What if I told you there's a sea serpent lurking just off Canada's coast? Locals call it Caddy. Caddy, short for Cadborosaurus, it's said to haunt the cold, misty waters of the Pacific Northwest. And sightings? They go back centuries. Fishermen, tourists, even experienced sailors all claim the same thing. A serpent-like body gliding just beneath the surface, over 30 feet long, humps rising and falling like ocean waves. But here's where it gets unsettling. In 1937, a whaling crew near Naden Harbor opened a sperm whale's stomach and pulled out something they couldn't explain. A creature with flippers, a long neck, and a horse-like head. The Victoria Daily Times even ran a photo. Was it a baby caddy, a hoax, or something prehistoric, still alive? And if you've seen the water horse, 2007, that cute sea creature? Yeah, this isn't that. Some say Caddy could swallow a full-grown seal whole. And now, dash cams and blurry drone footage are surfacing again. Something's still out there. So if you're ever near the waters of British Columbia, don't just listen to the waves. Look closer, because something might be watching from just beneath the surface. A predator straight out of the Age of Giants. Inspired by dinosaurs yet crafted for the ocean, this is Plesiosaur. A marine hunter from a time when the seas were ruled by massive reptiles. Its barrel-shaped body, 4 powerful flippers, and a neck stretching over 20 feet made it a precise and terrifying predator, snatching fish and squid with slender, interlocking teeth. Gastroliths, or stomach stones, suggest it used them to maintain balance and grind its meals. The story begins in 1823, when fossil hunter Mary Anning uncovered a nearly complete plesiosaur skeleton along England's limestone shores. Her discovery made plesiosaurs icons of the Mesozoic seas, with fossils later found across Europe, North America, New Zealand, and South America. Biomechanical studies reveal they flew through water like underwater birds, using all 4 flippers to glide and strike with deadly accuracy. Interestingly, if you watched our previous video, 12 Sea Monsters from Myth That Refused to Die, Part 2, you'll recognize Loch Ness Monster as a striking echo of Plesiosaur. While modern evidence is lacking, legends and eyewitness tales of lake sightings keep the mystery alive, proof that some ancient secrets might still be lurking just beyond our view. Okay, now we are talking about creature in the list. The creature is Champ. The elusive giant said to lurk in the shadowy depths of Lake Champlain, straddling New York, Vermont, and Quebec. Tales of this serpentine predator stretch back centuries, first whispered by the Abenaki and Iroquois tribes, who spoke of a long-necked beast gliding beneath the dark, silent waters. The first documented encounter came in 1609 when French explorer Samuel de Champlain reported a massive fish, roughly 16 feet long, its sharp teeth slicing through the lake's glassy surface. Modern accounts suggest Champ could reach 20 to 30 feet, with a slender neck, small head, and dark green or brown skin, drawing clear echoes of the plesiosaurs we just explored. But unlike those ocean-dwelling reptiles, Champ is said to rule a freshwater lake, making its legend all the more mysterious. Science offers a more mundane explanation. The Atlantic sturgeon, capable of growing over 15 feet and weighing hundreds of pounds, might account for some sightings. Yet over the past 2 centuries, more than 300 eyewitness reports, some accompanied by photographs or videos, keep the legend alive, each one whispering the same question. Could something prehistoric still swim silently below? Often called America's Nessie, Champ's story reminds us that even in well-charted waters, mysteries endure, and with the lake's shadowy depths largely unexplored, perhaps this giant still waits, unseen, just beneath the surface. Not all sea monsters have faces. Some just make a sound, and somehow that's worse. In 1997, researchers recorded something in the South Pacific, a sound so loud it was picked up by sensors over 3,000 miles apart. They called it the Bloop. It wasn't a whale, not a quake, not a ship, and definitely not human. Then came the theories. Some said it was ice, a glacier breaking, but others heard something more, alive, something massive. And here's where it gets weird. The Bloop's coordinates? They're near the place where writer H.P. Lovecraft imagined R'lyeh, the underwater city of a godlike being named Cthulhu. Now, if you already know who Cthulhu is, you're ahead of the curve. And if not, we've got you covered. Once this video ends, click the I button to dive deep into our dedicated Cthulhu episode. But for now stay with us, because what comes next in this video only gets darker. In horror games like Subnautica, on forums, in stories, the Bloop has become something more than a sound. It's what the ocean says and when something wakes up. Stronsay Beast. The name alone sounds like something torn from a lost chapter of maritime horror. Now picture this, a desolate island chain off the northern coast of Scotland, the Orkney Isles, gray skies, angry waves, wind so sharp it feels like it's whispering threats in your ear. It was here, in 1808, after a brutal storm, that something monstrous washed ashore. Locals found it sprawled on the beach, a grotesque, twisted corpse of something they couldn't explain. It was nearly 55 feet long, with a bizarre, elongated neck, a tiny reptilian head, and 6 flipper-like limbs stretching from its sides like broken wings. Its skin was rough, almost bird-like, and it gave off a stench that didn't smell like any normal sea creature, more like chemicals or something unnatural. These were seasoned fishermen. They'd seen whales, sharks, even giant squids. But this felt wrong, like something that wasn't meant to surface. The news spread fast. Scientists came in, the Royal Society, the real deal, examined the body and labeled it a sea serpent. That's not conspiracy, that's history. But as always, skeptics stepped in later. They claimed it was just a decaying basking shark, distorted by time and rot. Problem is, basking sharks don't grow to 55 feet, and they definitely don't have 6 limbs. So what was it? A survivor from a prehistoric world? A creature evolution left behind? A deep sea anomaly pulled up by the fury of the storm? Or something older, stranger, that still lurks far beneath? If you've ever watched The Meg or caught a glimpse of the terrifying silhouettes in the mist, you know the ocean's not just deep, it's hiding things. And maybe, just maybe, the Stronsay Beast wasn't a one-off. Maybe it's still down there. The next creature we're diving into is the mysterious Julia Beast. A legend born not from sightings, but from a sound that chilled the scientific world. On March 1st, 1999, hydrophones in the remote Antarctic waters captured a low-frequency pulse. Lasting only 15 seconds, but traveling thousands of miles across the ocean. The source? Estimated to be over 11,500 feet deep, in waters humans have barely touched. The intensity was staggering, 190 decibels underwater, louder than an entire fleet of ships combined. Yet there was nothing to see. No giant shadow, no surface disturbance, just the echo of something massive moving silently in the abyss. Speculation ran wild. Online communities imagined a 250-foot sea monster racing through the deep at impossible speeds, a predator beyond anything we know. Scientists, however, suggested a more earthly cause. A giant iceberg scraping the seafloor could have produced a sound of similar strength. Still, with more than 80% of the ocean unmapped, as you know, the truth remains out of reach. Whether a living behemoth or a natural phenomenon, the Julia Beast reminds us how little we truly know about the deep. And could something that massive really still be out there? No roar, no splash, no warning. Sometimes a boat just disappears. No storm, no wreckage, just gone. Locals call it the Sea Eater. It's not from a famous legend, no ancient texts, no monster manual, just whispers passed around docks in Scandinavia, Alaska, and northern Canada. A dark shape, no eyes, a mouth that stretches across half its head. Its skin is smooth like a seal, but its size like a bus or bigger. It doesn't attack with rage, it doesn't chase, it doesn't even make a sound. It just appears beneath the boat, and the boat is gone. Some think it's a metaphor, others think it's a cover-up, but there are reports, small, strange, of fishermen vanishing in calm waters. They weren't reckless, they weren't caught in a storm, they just never came back. There's no proof, no photos, just a pattern and an unspoken rule. If the sea goes quiet too fast, move. Because if the Sea Eater is real, it doesn't leave second chances. Next, we sail into the shadowy waters to encounter a creature that has haunted sailors and storytellers for centuries. Known to the world as Moby Dick, this pale Leviathan has become a legend whispered across oceans, its name forever etched in literature and maritime lore. Unlike purely mythical beasts, Moby Dick has roots in real sightings. Sailors over the centuries reported enormous albino whales, some over 80 feet long, capable of smashing ships or vanishing into the waves, only to reappear like ghostly sentinels of the deep. Their massive size, stark white color, and uncanny behavior made them seem almost otherworldly. From a scientific perspective, albino sperm whales are extremely rare but real. They can grow to terrifying proportions, and their unpredictable nature makes them both fascinating and dangerous. A living reminder that sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. And here's a pause for you. If you're captivated by this journey into the unknown, like and subscribe now, because your support inspires more explorations of the strangest corners of our world. Even today, tales persist. Eyewitness accounts, ship logs, and mysterious encounters keep the legend alive. Could Moby Dick, or a descendant, still roam the deep, unseen? The line between myth and reality grows thinner with every tale, daring us to imagine what lurks beneath the waves. This creature in our list is one that lurks in the shadows of rivers and streams. This is Nixie. A sinister water spirit from German folklore. Unlike the giants and prehistoric predators we've encountered, Nixie strikes unseen until it's too late. Legends describe it as a shapeshifter, sometimes appearing as a beautiful maiden, sometimes as a twisted monster, always with one goal: to lure the living beneath the surface. It whispers in familiar voices, sings with an otherworldly charm, and before its victims realize the danger, the waters close above them. For skeptics, these are just stories passed down through generations. But then there are the strange drownings, the sudden disappearances, the chilling tales from those who swear they saw something watching from the current. So the question isn't just what Nixie is, but why people keep telling these stories. Maybe it's a warning, maybe it's fear, or maybe, just maybe, something is still waiting in those rivers, watching for the next soul to wander too close. Now we are finally at the creature in our list, the one that transcends everything we've explored tonight. The most mind-shattering, reality-questioning terror of the deep is Cthulhu. A being with a humanoid form, massive wings, and an octopus-like head, whose writhing tentacles seem to think and act on their own. Legends call it a nightmare made flesh, a terror that exists somewhere between fiction and possibility. Some insist it's purely imaginary, yet others can't shake the thought that something so immense, so alien, could be lurking in the uncharted depths of the ocean. Cthulhu was brought to life by the imagination of H.P. Lovecraft, a master of cosmic horror, but its influence has seeped into movies, games, and the darkest corners of legend, leaving us to wonder if maybe, just maybe, some truths hide behind the myth. For those craving the full story, we've created a dedicated video on Cthulhu. Click the I button and dive deeper. Even in this brief glimpse, it's clear, some shadows of the deep are meant to haunt your imagination forever. In the waters of Hokkaido, just beyond where the boats drift, a god is said to sleep, a god with arms that can crush ships. Its name is Akkorokamui. A massive red octopus, larger than a whale, with eyes that glow like lanterns and skin said to shine like polished coral. Born from Ainu mythology, the legend tells of a giant spider that ravaged a village until the gods transformed it into a sea creature as punishment. But that didn't tame it. It only grew angrier and hungrier. Locals say when the tide turns red, Akkorokamui is near. Shrines were built in its honor, offerings made, because angering it meant vanishing, with no trace, no splash, just still red water. In modern culture, Akkorokamui inspired kaiju-style monsters in games like Monster Hunter and can be seen referenced in anime like Gegege no Kitaro. Even in Pokemon, the creature Octillery is rumored to be loosely inspired by this myth. And in Godzilla's spiritual genre, giant cephalopods often echo Akkorokamui's silhouette and power. To the Ainu, it wasn't just a monster. It was divine. Deadly, yes, but respected, worshipped. Because when something that large lives in the sea, you don't fight it, you pray it doesn't notice you. Storms are loud, waves crash, thunder rolls, but what if it's the silence that should scare you? Fishermen in Japan have long told the same story. After the storm ends, when the sea suddenly turns still and fog rolls in without a sound, something rises, a towering, faceless shadow with smooth black skin. Some say it has arms. Others say it's just a head, no eyes, no mouth, but it watches. The creature is Umibōzu. They say he sinks ships with a single motion. And if you speak, he demands a bucket. If you hand him a regular one, he floods the ship. The only way to survive? A bottomless bucket, a trick, a riddle. He's less like a monster and more like the sea itself. Calm one moment, deadly the next. In modern Japanese horror games and anime, Umibōzu returns again and again, always in the fog, always when the water is too still. Is he real? Science says no, but to coastal sailors, this name still means something. Don't trust silence, don't speak to shadows, and never, ever hand him a full bucket. Beneath the turquoise waters of Fiji lurks a legend older than the islands themselves. They say if you sail into the wrong reef without offering respect, you don't return, because something ancient is watching. Dakuwaqa, the shark god, half man, half shark, with rows of jagged teeth and eyes that never blink. But here's the twist. He's not just a monster, he's a guardian, a god of balance, protection, and wrath. Long ago, Dakuwaqa tried to conquer the land, charging through rivers to claim an island for himself. But a river goddess rose to stop him. They clashed for days. She won. And instead of vengeance, Dakuwaqa surrendered. He swore to protect the islands from any force that threatened them, human or not. For generations, Fijians poured kava into the sea before setting sail, a sacred offering, asking for safe passage. Because out there, you were never alone. Fishermen told stories of a massive shadow beneath their boats, not chasing, but following, escorting, watching. But break the rules, mock the ocean, forget the old ways? Dakuwaqa doesn't forgive. He drags you into the deep, and no one sees you again. He's inked into traditional tattoos, whispered in island chants, and still shows up in video games, comics, even pop culture. Not just as a beast, but as something older. Because the sea doesn't just destroy, sometimes it defends itself. They say if you're walking near a quiet lake in Eastern Europe and you hear soft singing echoing through the fog, run. Because what you're hearing isn't a bird. It's not the wind. It's her, the Rusalka. A spirit born from tragedy, a woman who died by betrayal, heartbreak, or drowned by someone she trusted. Now she haunts rivers and forest lakes, pale, beautiful, and deadly. She sings to travelers, fishermen, anyone close enough to hear. Follow the sound, you vanish. Some say she drags you into the deep. Others claim she waits, watching from just beneath the surface, her hair floating like weeds, her eyes wide and unblinking. And here's the twist. Remember the mermaid we showed you in episode 1? She was strange, ancient, maybe even misunderstood. But the Rusalka? She doesn't want to be understood. She doesn't want love. She wants revenge. Now we head to the jagged coastline of Cornwall, England, a place haunted by shipwrecks, sea fog, and something far stranger. Locals whisper the name, Morgawr. The sea giant, a long, humpbacked creature with a serpent's neck and fins like leathery wings. And if you're looking at this and thinking, wait, is that the Loch Ness monster? You're not far off, because while Nessie hides in the still waters of Scotland, Morgawr prowls the open sea. Fishermen near Falmouth Bay say it's around 20 feet long, dark-skinned, and eerily prehistoric, like a Plesiosaur torn straight out of Jurassic Park. In 1975, a woman known only as Mary F. captured a chilling photo near Pendennis Point, a massive, arched shape rising from the water and then gone. That same week, 2 other witnesses reported something huge moving beneath their boat. Coincidence? Or did Morgawr resurface after years of silence? Some call it a misidentified whale. Others believe it's a living relic from Earth's ancient past, a cousin of Nessie that escaped into the endless ocean. Suggested by you and backed by demand. You asked for it again and again. Some of you said, put El Gran Maja back in your videos. So here it is. Not because we forgot it, but because some legends deserve a second look. In the black, frozen trenches of the Arctic, where no light survives and the pressure could crush steel, something ancient is said to stir. El Gran Maja. A beast of impossible scale, stretching over 2,000 feet long, with rows of jagged teeth, 6 pale, soulless eyes, and a presence that silences sonar. This isn't some old sailor's tale. El Gran Maja is a child of the modern world. Its legend fueled by strange underwater audio, lost expedition footage, and digital artwork that felt too real to ignore. It began with deep, inhuman sounds, captured by naval mics far below the surface. Scientists called them ice shifts. Others weren't so sure. One story tells of a research drone that vanished mid-dive, but not before sending one last image. A massive silhouette, larger than a blue whale, moving beneath the seafloor like a shadow come alive. Is it real? A prehistoric predator we've never classified? A myth born from humanity's fear of the deep? Whatever the answer, El Gran Maja still echoes in the cold, dark corners of the internet. And thanks to you, it's back in the story. In the darkest depths of Norse mythology, sailors whispered about a sea beast so massive, it was often mistaken for an island. They called it Hafgufa. Roughly translates to sea steam or sea reek, but don't let the odd name fool you. This wasn't fog, it wasn't mist, it was alive. Ancient Icelandic texts like the Konung Skugja, the King's Mirror, describe a creature with a mouth so wide it could swallow entire ships, not by chasing them, but by waiting patiently with its jaws wide open like a trap disguised as an island. Gulls would land, fish would swim in, sailors would anchor nearby, and then nothing left but silence and bubbles. And here's where it gets real strange. In 2023, researchers studying whale feeding patterns off the coast of Greenland noticed something eerily similar, a behavior known as trap feeding. Whales would float motionless near the surface, mouths agape, letting prey swim inside before snapping their jaws shut in an instant, exactly like Hafgufa. So was this beast real? Some kind of extinct mega whale? Or is it still out there, ancient, silent, and smart enough to never surface long enough to be caught? By the way, if you're still watching and loving the deep dive into these chilling myths, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Lostopedia. It helps more than you know. Your support keeps the myths alive. Now back to Hafgufa. Some say it's just a metaphor, a warning to those who drift too far into nature's domain. Others believe it's real, something that rises with the fog, then sinks before you even realize. That island you were staring at was never an island at all, just a mouth waiting to close. In the ancient temples of India and Southeast Asia, carved deep into stone gateways and palace fountains, hides a creature that's part guardian, part mystery. Its name, Makara. It's not just a sea beast, it's a chimera. The front, sometimes an elephant, sometimes a crocodile. The back, a peacock's tail, or the fin of a fish. twisting like it doesn't belong in this world at all. It's like someone dreamed it and then etched that dream into stone. For centuries, Makara stood as a symbol of protection, guarding sacred thresholds, warding off chaos. Visit the Konark Sun Temple in India or Cambodia's Angkor Wat and you'll see them. Ancient sentinels, frozen mid-roar, half forgotten, half feared. Some say it was inspired by real animals, the Ganges river dolphin or ancient crocodilians long vanished from the earth. Others, they believe the Makara represents something deeper, nature's wild side, the part that can't be defined or controlled, only imagined. In Hindu mythology, it's not just a symbol, it's the Mount of Varuna, god of the ocean, and of Ganga, the river goddess. Wherever the water flows, the Makara waits, and today, you can still spot traces of it in eastern dragons, in sea monsters from video games and fantasy films, a shape-shifting memory hiding in modern myths. So what was the Makara really? A lost animal? A dream turned warning? Or something stranger, a gatekeeper between our world and something we were never meant to see? Now we head deep into the mists of the Scottish Highlands, where fishermen whisper about a creature that doesn't just kill, it manipulates. This is the Cirein-Cròin. They say it's the size of 7 whales, but it doesn't charge like a wild beast. No, it disguises itself as a tiny silver fish, harmless, ordinary, a perfect catch. But when the fisherman reels it in, it changes. It transforms back into its true form, monstrous, massive, with burning eyes and jaws that could snap a boat in two. What kind of creature plans like this? A mindless sea monster? Or something far more intelligent? Here's where it gets even weirder. A lot of people compare it to the xenomorph from Alien, that slick black creature that hides in plain sight, then tears everything apart. And if you're not familiar with the xenomorph, click the I button above after this video and watch our 9 most dangerous beasts from movies. It'll all start to make sense. But first, you need to finish this, because the Cirein-Cròin isn't just folklore. It's a predator that wants you to let your guard down until it's far too late. Imagine you're a sailor in the 17th century, crossing the icy Atlantic. When you spot land, a small, dark island, still and silent. You anchor your ship, you step ashore. But just as your crew starts to explore, the island trembles, and then it sinks. Because it's not an island, it's the devil whale. This beast isn't just huge, it's deceptive. Legends say it mimics the look of a rocky island, luring ships to anchor on its back. Once the sailors relax, it dives, dragging ships and men straight to the ocean floor. Stories of this sea monster echo through Irish and European folklore, especially in old sailors' journals and medieval bestiaries. It's been called a false island, a living trap that tests the arrogance of man at sea. The Catholic Church even used the devil whale as a cautionary tale, representing temptation and sin, a creature so massive and convincing, it made sailors doubt their senses and pay the ultimate price for it. But here's what's chilling. Some marine biologists have linked this myth to actual whale strandings or giant sea creatures like sperm whales or colossal squid, species that can float near the surface and remain motionless for long periods. One theory even suggests that volcanic islands or drifting pumice rafts may have confused sailors, making the devil whale part real-world phenomena, part deep-sea nightmare. So when we think about the ocean, it's not just the depth that's terrifying, it's how easily it can fool you. I think we're finally down to the last page in our list, and fittingly, it's a beast that once defined what a sea monster even was. In ancient Greece, there was a word for anything massive, merciless, and born of the deep. That word was Cetus. This wasn't just a single monster. Cetus was a term for any colossal sea beast, but over time, it became tied to one terrifying nightmare, a creature the gods unleashed to punish mankind. According to myth, Poseidon sent Cetus to ravage the kingdom of Ethiopia after its queen, Cassiopeia, insulted the sea nymphs. To stop the destruction, King Cepheus was told to sacrifice his daughter, Andromeda, to the monster. She was chained to a rock, left for dead, until Perseus, riding Pegasus and armed with the head of Medusa, turned the beast to stone. Sounds like a movie, right? That's because it became one. In Clash of the Titans, 1981, and the 2010 reboot, Cetus was reimagined as the Kraken, a massive, apocalyptic creature summoned from the deep to destroy cities. Release the Kraken became a pop culture legend, but its roots trace back to Cetus. What's wild is how these ancient stories keep evolving, retold, renamed, but never quite forgotten. Maybe it's because deep down, we still fear the sea. Not just what we see, but what's lurking in the dark, unexplored depths. Here's the kicker. We've mapped more of the moon's surface than we have Earth's ocean floor. So if something like Cetus ever existed, we'd have no warning until the tides drag us under. The deeper we search, the more we realize how little we know. Every wave hides a story, every shadow a possibility. These creatures may belong to myth, but myths begin somewhere. Which one do you think still lurks beneath? Drop your theory below. And if you're still here, you're part of the lost crew now. Stay curious, stay fearless, and I'll see you in the next journey into the unknown.